For me, it was about getting very aware of the kind of partner I wanted to be with. And I made a list. I made a list of all the qualities that I was looking for in a relationship. I wanted a healer. I wanted someone who had a spiritual practice. I wanted someone who was a dad. And literally 2 weeks later, I met Beau. It's very important to be in a solid relationship with self. We teach people how to treat us based on the way we treat ourselves.
You probably had to learn how to love every part of yourself before you could really have somebody that could love every part of you. There's work that you can absolutely do and need to do, I believe, on your own. And then, unless you're in a relationship, certain parts of you just can't be touched. Certain things you can't see without that mirror of partnership.
We've both been married before. We're a blended family. So Beau and I met, and we're both divorced, and we both have our own kids. And I think that when you have children as a single parent in the healing arts, and you're out meeting people and you're considering someone that you can build a life with, we become much more intentional about who we're looking to merge with, the kind of qualities we're looking for in a person. I've always dreamed of having a family where my children were meditating, developing empathy, were aware of their feelings and open to expressing their feelings is something I didn't have as a child. And so I really wanted a conscious environment for my family. When I met Beau, he was already doing that with his kids.
That's such a crucial point, is the intentionality. As Sabrina's saying, we were both more intentional perhaps than we had been in our previous relationships because we had children, but it doesn't take having children to have that intentionality.
Yeah.
I was intentional. I needed to be serious about this. I can't just, be sort of messing around or, I took it more seriously. I wasn't willing to honor my own energy and journey at times when choosing partners before. I was certainly going to do that now that I had children. But you don't have to wait to have children to be more intentional about who you're choosing.
I have a history of sort of settling, getting some of my needs met, maybe not all of my needs met, and then sort of settling for relationships that were good, but not everything I was looking for. I've had relationships in the past that were teachers and expanders for me, but it wasn't a full picture of what I believed I deserved in love, what I believed I was worthy of. For me, it was about getting very aware of the kind of partner I wanted to be with. And I made a list. The lists work. They really work. I made a list of all the qualities that I was looking for in a relationship. I wanted a healer. I wanted someone who had a spiritual practice. I wanted someone who was a dad, someone who understood the pain of being divorced and having children that go back and forth 50-50. This is not an easy thing for those of you that share custody with your kids. It's kind of a dull pain that you never really get fully over, but you learn to live with. You learn to accept it and create a life for yourself when you don't have your kids. I wanted someone who understood and had compassion and empathy for that. I wanted someone who could hold all of me, like all of my gifts, my emotions, all of my intensity, everything that I am. In previous relationships, I felt I had to hold myself back a little bit, not really share fully who I was. I got very intentional about creating this, holding the energy for my beloved, for my energetic equal. And literally 2 weeks later, I met Beau. I love telling the story because I live in a town that's very family oriented. I mean, it's not really, everything shuts down at 9:00. It's not like there's a lot going on here in terms of arts, culture, or things to do outside of the family environment. And so it was very interesting that I met a single dad who also happens to be in the healing arts, who lived down the road from me. It took a lot of intentionality and getting clear on the kind of relationship I wanted and feeling embodied in this connection, something that would help me grow as a person, as a mom, partner, and a facilitator. We're all wired for connection. And every single one of us wants to find love. We look for love outside of us. It's finding that relationship that's going to show you how to go more in love with yourself, like deeper in love with yourself, which enables you to be more in love in the relationship. When we look at partnership as a way to find the love that we've never had, or the love that we've never experienced, or the love that we weren't given as children, we'd set ourselves up for disappointment. We set ourselves up for just thwarted expectations and hurt potentially. And so this is very important to mention, that the relationship, we are not here to complete each other. We're here to hold space for the other person to find their own completion within the loving context of our relationship. That is an empowering way to look at partnership. We give each other a lot of space. Like, he has space to be fully himself. I have space to be fully me. We both have our own interests. We both have our own careers. My plate is full as far as my own life being something that I feel very passionate about, very called to serve, as most of you know. And Beau has his things that he's passionate about as well. This is very important. It's very important to be in a solid relationship with self. This is the crux of conscious partnership, is to be in loving relationship with self always, and to use the partnership, to use the relationship as a mirror to, okay, where am I not loving myself enough?
Yes.
Where could I love myself more? What am I projecting onto my partner? We definitely trigger each other. That happens in our relationship.
It does.
It does. It
Yeah,
does.
definitely.
It sure
Of course
does.
it does. It has
Yeah.
to. As far as the healing journey goes, there's work that you can absolutely do and need to do, I believe, on your own, very self-contained, and just deal with it all inside. And then, unless you're in a relationship, certain parts of you just can't be touched.
That's right.
You can't see it until you get into that relationship. I mean, I was like, I'm getting pretty close to Buddha level. And then we got together and I was like, oh my God, there's so much. There's so much left to do. There's so much left to learn. There's so much left to heal. And because relationship, whether or not you're doing it consciously, it's going to touch and poke certain tender spots that can't be reached without a partner. Certain things you can't see without that mirror of partnership.
I believe that love, when you find this type of love that's not codependent, we're not bonded in our wounds. We're bonded in our commitment to heal our wounds, which is very different. It gives you so much freedom to be who you are and be self-expressed. That was sort of my journey that led me to this relationship, which I feel so grateful for. I thank the universe every day for the experience of having this relationship and having it grow and deepen, expand, and bring up all the parts of me that still need love and healing. We're all works in progress. Right?
I would say the precursor to that is loving yourself. For me, that's what the healing journey is, loving yourself first. You probably had to learn how to love every part of yourself before you could really have somebody that could love every part of you.
I think that's true for everybody.
Years of my journey were spent going deeper into love with myself. I didn't make a list or anything, so you don't have to make a list, but it can help. I had a knowing and a faith when I was getting divorced early on in the process. I was like, oh, but I've grown so much since I met my ex-wife, and I love myself so much more than I did when I met her. And I had this awareness, like, I can only attract what I am. I'm in such a better place than I was when I met this person. Now, who am I going to meet? This person's going to be amazing. And I knew I would meet them through some sort of healing circle or something like that, because I wasn't going to be at a bar anymore. And I did. A couple of years later, we met.
We met not looking for love, but we met in love. It's very important to be in that space of love within yourself first, finding that point of self-love, self-awareness, optimism, hope for something better, that higher frequency within yourself. And then trusting that that's the energy that's going to attract someone who's in a similar place. And then together you can amplify the experience of love. Like, it's just about really loving yourself, really honoring yourself first and foremost. We teach people how to treat us based on the way we treat ourselves, based on the love that we have for ourselves. I don't think I would be as attractive to Beau, and vice versa, if I didn't have a fiercely loving, self-honoring relationship with self. And it's so important for everybody to really get this. No one can fill those gaps for you, fill your cup for you. We can support each other. We can hold each other's hand while we fill our own cups, hold space for each other as you're healing or leading yourself through suffering. But the work is a solo journey you can do in partnership when you meet the right person.
I love telling people this story. I had a panic attack on our first date.
True.
I've never had that happen. I'm not super prone to anxiety attacks. And I had a full-blown panic attack on our first date. It was a very long date, like one of these things that really, hey, let's keep this going. We had beautiful connective time for several hours. We had cacao, did some meditating and breath work. Very sweet, very lovely, very us. Then we're like, hey, we got to eat food. Let's get some sushi. Went to a sushi restaurant. We were talking. I was listening. Full-blown panic attack.
You picked the perfect person to have a panic attack with.
Free coaching came to the best. That's a really great point because that was crucial. I would never have felt safe enough. I didn't have much of a choice. I wasn't like, you know what, I think I'm going to go into a panic attack and see how she handles this curveball. But subconsciously, my higher self created it so that I could have that experience. First of all, I told her the truth. I excused myself to go to the restroom. I was like, oh my God, this is happening. I came back and told her the truth. That was a new experience. Having the integrity and loving myself enough to be present and honor what I was going through, being real and truthful with you. I can't say I would have done that in any other relationship or first date scenario. You were so sweet, held my hand, and were so loving and kind. I don't think I've ever felt that safe. I haven't felt that safe in my life with anyone, including family. That really created a container for truth and honesty. We have to love ourselves first, but this container of our relationship creates a really safe space to keep going deeper with myself, and the love I have for myself creates a safe space to keep going deeper with Sabrina. As far as vetting or seeing who's right and how things unfold, I'm very much into signs from the universe. Like Sabrina's talking about, everything was just flowing together, seeing where it's easy, seeing where things flow, following your intuition. But this comes with a caveat, because something that I've really been aware of lately is sometimes everything's lining up because you're meant to be with this person, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're meant to be with them forever. I think we get led into experiences where it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be in this. And our thought is always, oh, because of movies and fairy tales, that means I'm supposed to be with them forever. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you need somebody for a season of life, to teach you what you need to be taught, or to help you heal something that needs to be healed, so that you can be ready for that next person.
Yeah. I think it's important to address too that those relationships are usually karmic. Today we're talking about soulmate love, and
right.
This is what Beau and I believe that we have in each other. And soulmate love is easy, natural, organic, and it's a long-term relationship. It's meant to be somebody you can walk through life with, which is very different than a karmic relationship. Karmic relationships are super intense. There's like a strong pull, can almost feel obsessive.
Right.
It can feel like it brings up a lot of second guessing and insecurity. These are relationships that are there to help you heal. Unfortunately, they can be very painful, especially when you resist the lessons, and they're generally short-lived. They're not long-term relationships. You go into this excruciating container, learn about yourself and a lot of painful lessons, and then out you come out the other side, hopefully having grown and having a lot more wisdom about who you are and what you want, which is what I believe happened with me in my previous marriage. It allowed me to manifest my soulmate relationships, a much easier, more supportive, organically unfolding process of being in love with a person who can meet me there.